Joining us now with a reaction to last night's primaries and a look ahead to November's general election is the man who will face off against Andrew Cuomo, Dutchess County Executive and Republican gubernatorial candidate Marc Molinaro. Marc, welcome to the program once again.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
So, Marc, what did yesterday's primaries tell you about your chances of becoming the next governor of New York?
Yeah, I think it was not a victory for New Yorkers, frankly. The governor spent $25 million of money that, quite frankly, I think he bent the rules to attain. He vilified his opponent, Ms. Nixon, and there are still countless New Yorkers who think that the system is rigged against them. And they're right, it is. And Andrew Cuomo has benefited from that for the last 7 years. So there is a real path to winning because New Yorkers, I think, want a government that's more honest and honorable and more responsive to them.
And the fact that he beat Ms. Nixon by almost 2-1 doesn't make you pause?
No, not at all. I mean, listen. There is a large number. There are a large number of voters in the Democratic Party that see him for the way the rest of us see him, which is somebody's more interested in power, somebody who will make decisions based on political expedience, and someone who will do anything to remain in power.
So one of the biggest headlines from yesterday's primaries, aside from the gubernatorial race, was the fact that 6 out of 8 of the members of the former Independent Democratic Conference who used to work with the Republicans and who kept the Republicans in power in the state Senate lost.
Yeah.
And they lost big.
Yeah.
Some are calling this a blue wave by proxy because they lost as a result of the fact that they work with Republicans. Does that concern you?
I think they lost because they lost connection with their constituents, and their constituents are likely left of center, and they wanted honest representation. And I think any politician who is divorced from the realities that their constituents face is endangered, which, by the way, gets me to why I think Andrew Cuomo is still in trouble, because I think those voters saw in those Senate candidates and in this governor somebody who's in it for corporate reasons, for political benefit, for power. They see an establishment that stands on the other side of a gate. My gosh, even the governor was in a mansion on a hill.
But he won and they lost.
Yeah, well, I think yesterday was pretty telling. There's still a good number of voters who've had enough of that kind of politics regardless. Okay.
You know, it seems that every Democrat who was running yesterday, regardless of the race, was running against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The governor has already begun calling you the Trump mini-me. That's his words. And his campaign is already linking you to the NRA and calling you a, quote, anti-woman, anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ candidate, unquote. How do you respond to these charges?
Well, they're lies, and I'll call them that. I'm not interested in mincing words. The governor knows full well I didn't vote for Donald Trump. He knows full well that I've had a record over these last 7 years of defending women's rights, protecting and including those individuals regardless of who they love or where they live. And my county actually embraces, through our Human Rights Commission, a real open conversation about the fear that many immigrants have, the concerns that we have as a society to address intolerance. Listen, the governor wants nothing more than to talk about Donald Trump because that will distract the rest of us from the fact that he has a failed government. He has led the most corrupted state government in America, and we continue to see the powerful on the other side of the gate, while ordinary New Yorkers just want a government that pays attention to them. He's running for president. I'm running for governor of the state of New York.
All right, but when you were in the Assembly in 2011, you did vote against legalizing same-sex marriage.
I did, and that was actually the same position as Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama at the time. We all grow, and I think that, in fact, that's an important trait. This governor can't even admit a mistake. I acknowledge that this is a civil right that ought to be protected, and as governor, I'm going to do it.
Okay, so let's turn to 2 or 3 issues that no doubt will dominate the debate for the rest of the campaign. Let's start with subways. First of all, do you believe that the subways are the responsibility of the governor and of the state rather than the city?
Yes, and unlike this governor, I intend to fix the transit system. We released a fairly detailed plan, but it's focused on not the vanity projects, colored tiles in the Midtown Tunnel, or opening the Second Avenue subway with big ribbon cutting and no fire alarms. We have to make real investment in signal switches, platforms, and cars, and by really addressing the cost, we'll be able to make pretty.
How are you going to address the cost?
We're going to negotiate. You know, this governor likes to dictate and bully. There's opportunity for employees to benefit benefit and the system to benefit if we start by respecting each other and focus effectively on getting those resources onto the tracks and into the stations. Also, by the way, I just would offer to you that there are countless people who are at the lower end of the income scale or living with disabilities who don't have access to a transit system. It is their lifeblood, and we have a responsibility as the state to fix it and to make it accessible and affordable for them.
All right, so corruption and lack of transparency in Albany, that's something that you've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Well, on day one, we're going to appoint a real investigation commission, a Moreland commission that goes after Republicans or Democrats, anybody who would defraud taxpayers. And I'll do that on my first day in office. But beyond that, we'll propose and ask the legislature to adopt the most sweeping and comprehensive ethics reforms ever in the state of New York. And I will demand a vote up or down on term limits, an independent ethics commission, and a tool to enforce it. But I will tell you, between now and the end of the year, this governor has really taken advantage of his office, has benefited from a corrupted system, and 6 or 7 of his top lieutenants found guilty. We deserve an independent investigation, a Robert Mueller kind of investigation. If ever there was a corrupted administration, it's this one.
Okay, aside from that and aside from everything you said, in 30 seconds or less, what's the most important reason why New Yorkers should make you the next governor of New York?
I care deeply about the people of the state of New York. I've spent every day of my adult life trying to make government work for people, regardless of politics. I have zero interest in shoving ideology down the throats of anyone. I want us to work together to fix problems. I want us to work together to protect one another. I want to make sure that this state is affordable and accessible to everybody who calls it home, and that's my commitment.
All right, Mr. Molinaro, thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.